I talked about Starmer's promises before, and British opposition leader Keir Starmer promised to seek a major rewrite of Britain's Brexit deal in 2025 if the Labour Party wins the next general election. That's what the Financial Times reported on Sunday. Starmer said he would put a closer trading relationship with Brussels and a new partnership with business at the heart of his efforts to bolster Britain's economic growth. That's at least what the British newspaper said. Britain left the European Union at the end of January 2020. In April 2021, the EU backed the post-Brexit trade deal with Britain, called the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the TCA. Then British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that it would provide stability to Britain's relationship with the EU. The trade deal is due for review in 2025, with Starmer saying that he saw this as an important moment to reset relations. However, the process is being seen as just an ironing out procedure by Brussels. Almost everyone recognizes the deal Johnson struck is not a good deal. It's far too thin. As we go into 2025, we will attempt to get a much better deal for the UK, is what the Financial Times quoted Starmer as saying. A spokesperson for Starmer did not immediately respond to Reuters and other requests for comment after this. Starmer, whose party looks set to win the next election according to opinion polls, also said this week that a Labour government would set up a new police unit to tackle illegal immigration and suggested he was open to a returns agreement with the European Union to solve the crisis. But he should answer why the EU should do that. His comments join other recent interventions in which the leader, who has frustrated some for being tight-lipped, has started to outline what Starmer's Britain might look like as Labour begins to plan for power. It remains unclear, however, if Brussels would be open to making major changes to the agreement, which was agreed by former Conservative Prime Minister Boris Johnson in 2021, and I doubt they will. Sir Keir has repeatedly said he would not seek to rejoin the EU if his party comes to power, promising to make Brexit work, which is complete BS. The party is consistently polling above the Conservatives, though. And last week, Starmer sat down to dinner with union leaders gathered for the Trades Union Congress, with one official present summing up Starmer's message as eyes on the prize. The EU-UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the TCA, is a comprehensive trade agreement between the European Union and the United Kingdom. It was signed late on December 30th in 2020 and entered into force on May 1st in 2021. The TCA covers a wide range of areas. The TCA eliminates tariffs and quotas on most goods traded between the EU and the UK. It also provides for a significant level of openness for trade in investment. The TCA includes provisions on digital trade, such as non-discrimination against digital services and data-free flow. The TCA also protects intellectual property rights, such as copyrights and trademarks. And the TCA provides for access to public procurement markets in both the EU and the UK. And the TCA includes provisions on aviation and road transport, such as continued access to airports and roads. And the TCA includes provisions on energy cooperation, such as cooperation on renewable energy and energy security. And the TCA includes provisions on fisheries cooperation, such as access to fishing waters and quotas. And the TCA protects the social security rights of EU citizens and UK nationals living and working in the EU and the UK. Law enforcement and judicial cooperation in criminal matters are another point here. The TCA includes provisions on law enforcement and judicial cooperation in criminal matters, such as cooperation on extradition and cross-border investigations, but is not as far as during the membership. And the TCA also includes provisions for thematic cooperation in areas such as research and innovation, education and climate change, but often optional, as it was with Horizon. The TCA is a complex agreement. There is still some uncertainty about the implementation because a lot is still not implemented. But it provides a framework for continued trade and cooperation between the EU and the UK, although on a third country level. The TCA, as I said, eliminated some tariffs and quotas on most goods traded between the EU and the UK, but there are some exceptions, such as for agricultural products and certain manufactured goods. Goods must meet certain rules of origin in order to qualify for preferential treatment under the TCA. And this means that a certain percentage of the value of the good must have been added in the EU or the UK in order to be considered a good of EU or UK origin. And the TCA provides for openness in trade and services, but there are a lot of restrictions or a lot of things not mentioned, such as financial services, and in transport there are gaps as well. The TCA includes a dispute settlement mechanism that allows the EU and the UK to resolve any disputes that arise over the implementation of the agreement. But it is indeed a significant agreement that will have a major impact on trade and cooperation between both parties once fully implemented, I must say. It is important for businesses and individuals to understand the key details of the agreement in order to prepare for all the changes that it will bring in time. And the whole time the UK was accused of cherry-picking in the Brexit negotiations because it wanted to keep the benefits of EU membership, such as access to the single market and the customs union, without having to follow the EU's rules. For example, the UK wanted to be able to diverge from EU regulations on environmental protection, also on labor standards and state aids. The EU, on the other hand, argued that the single market is indivisible, and that the UK could not have access to the single market without following the EU's rules. The EU also argued that the UK could not have the benefits of EU membership without the costs, such as contributing to the EU budget. So the UK's cherry-picking approach was controversial both within the UK and within the EU, and some people in the UK argued that the UK should not have to follow EU rules if it is not a member of the EU. They are right. But if they are wanting access to the single market and the customs union, they will have to follow those rules. Fortunately, the EU was united in its opposition to the UK's cherry-picking approach, and EU leaders argued that it was not possible for the UK to have the best of both worlds, unless you are Northern Ireland. They also argued that the UK's cherry-picking approach would undermine the integrity of the single market. In the end, the UK was not able to achieve its cherry-picking goals. The trade agreement that the UK and the EU reached does not give the UK full access to the single market and not full access to the customs union. The UK also has to commit to following certain EU rules in order to benefit from the trade agreement. And the UK's failure to achieve its cherry-picking goals is a reminder that Brexit comes with costs. The UK cannot simply leave the EU and keep all the benefits of membership. It has to make choices about what is most important to it. And Starmer is in the same situation. But there we have, with this interview with the Financial Times, another example why I'm so angry about Starmer as well at the moment. He is promising things he knows that will not happen. First of all, I'm absolutely sure that the EU will not reopen the whole deal and renegotiate it from scratch. And that's the kind of the picture Starmer is painting here. Will not happen. Secondly, Starmer cannot have anything of what he wants without getting much closer relationship with the EU and following even more EU rules. And if he wants all the benefits he claims Britain can get, they would have to rejoin the single market or the customs union. But this is not an easy task. They just could do it via AFTA or the EEA, and that is quite a hard thing for them, and comes with almost all the obligations of being an EU member, but without not having a say at all. Some countries prefer this, but after listening to the Brexiteers for years, that is definitely not what they want. But if you want to know more about Brexit or other topics, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.